What's up, everyone? It's Adar coming at you with another episode of Startup Engineering Daily. Let's hop right into it. So our first story is from the Tiny Corp, aka Tinygrad, which is essentially a deep learning framework. I think it's competing with PyTorch. I was interested in it at one point, but I never got super deep into it. But they're announcing today, following with all these other companies that are doing this in these open source projects, Tinygrad is actually fully open source. I believe it's MIT. They are actually MIT licensed, and they're saying that if you submit a PR and it's clear to them that you haven't manually read every line, it will be closed. Do it multiple times and you'll be banned from their GitHub. A PR is a request for a human to read your code. It's insulting to show up with AI slop. And you have Prime here. We're happy about that. He's like one of the biggest AI haters ever. I can't believe it, but still a big fan. But this is cool to see. It's still kind of an evolution. I forget who was saying, I think it was the owner of Warp or Ghosty, whichever one, like the ex-HashiCorp guy, where he was saying he's working on a solution for this. Or maybe it was GitHub, I think, was saying they were working on a solution for it. But essentially, they're saying all this AI slop, way more PRs. It would be interesting to see actual numbers of like how many more PRs they have and what percentage of them are being closed because they're slop. But clearly it's a problem because all of these companies are coming out and saying that they're not accepting and they're closing it. And it does speak to the fact that like, human synchronous code review is very important. I guess in the sense of like, Tinygrad and other open source projects, it's just kind of a given that you're going to be reviewing all of the PRs and making sure that it's good before it goes in because you have these external contributors. But I feel like in startups, it hasn't been so much that case. But now in the age of AI, it's like extremely important to have manual human review on every single PR before it goes out. So we'll just have to see how this keeps unfolding and if GitHub will have a solution. The main piece that I've heard is that if you can have like prioritized collaborators where their PRs are higher up or get more priority in a certain way in the UI, that could be helpful. But I haven't heard that many more solutions in terms of actually solving this. Next is a tweet from this guy, or I guess it's a team of people called Stay Sassy. They seem to work at NASDAQ in some way, or I guess they're engineering managers, and they have some Substack, I guess, about building IT teams. Or just engineering teams in general, I guess. But what he's saying is kind of a counter to the point of saying everyone's going to build their own SaaS products, right? With the AI, it's like, oh, why would we use Slack when we can just build our own Slack? I always felt from the beginning that no one was going to rebuild Slack, for example, but maybe there are services that people want to rebuild, and it's kind of going to be a quality and competition kind of game. But he does speak to a specific thing, so we'll get into it, which is that he's saying anything at scale requires an on-call rotation. This I 100% agree with, where if you have production services and people are stealing your money at 2 a.m., someone has to revert that. Someone has to turn that off and talk to support or whatever. And I guess even if the service is down, someone has to get on and fix that as well, especially because that's costing money in most of the cases of these SaaS. But then where it gets interesting is that they say that the minimum viable on-call is 4 people, and 4 developers is 1 mil flat easily. I don't know if this is parody, but I feel like he's not joking. I could be misunderstanding what the purpose of this Twitter account is, but they're saying just 2 steps into your DIY journey, you're spending more than 99% of companies spending on any SaaS product, which is correct. And if you're spending $500K to $1 million on a SaaS product, you're doing millions in revenue, or at least you have like tens of millions raised by far. But the idea that you need 4 people on call to make sure that a system is operating correctly is interesting. I'm not mad at it as being someone who's been on call for projects and is on call for projects as just like one person, 2 people that can be on call. It is interesting to think about. I don't know how many startups can get away with 4 people being on call. You can have SaaS products that are startups, small teams. So it's interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not against it. And it kind of speaks to like, what is the purpose of humans in the age of AI and like being on call, being a site reliability engineer, knowing how to go through Datadog, or at least asking AI how to use your Datadog, how to set up observability, all these things that are really important. That is just an example of a role that is required and still remains to be human. So being on call, doing code review, I think is still one of those pieces. Database migrations, all of those things still have to have a human in the layer. And it is interesting, I guess, to see a dichotomy of how far people go one way or the other in supporting AI. There's still full AI haters in the industry, but it seems to be very rare, at least in the circles I run in, but it seems to be very rare comparatively, but industry is quite wide as well. So next we have an announcement from Anthropic where they have built-in UIs essentially now into the Claude product, where hopefully we can see here in a second. Now you can have like Figma, for example, or Excel or Amplitude, which is the company that Spencer's tweeting from here. So you can have Figma directly built into the chat, for example. The idea is that it's kind of bringing along this future that we have discussed before, which is like everything just going to be chat oriented, and you just have like these little embedded UIs going into the project. A lot of very smart product designers believe that's not the way we're going to go, and a lot of people believe that we need to keep the UI and that it's kind of a lever that we've taken advantage of to improve upon human communication by having buttons and drop downs and all these things and keybinds. But it is cool to see. And someone else was mentioning as well that Claude and Anthropic are going way above and on OpenAI right now, which is very interesting. I'm not sure what OpenAI has been working on. I know people are saying that Codex is really good right now, and they might even be the best model. But in terms of product releases, like Anthropic is really pushing it, and apparently they're vibe coding all of it. So it's very interesting. I want to see what the human PR review looks like. I know they have to have those models in place, or they're just doing a ton of testing. I know they're using Bun internally is a big piece that they acquired, but they do have very high velocity right now, which is cool to see. So the last story for today is from this person, Ryotac, who seems to be an indie security researcher. So it's always cool to see these coming out. And they're saying that another vulnerability in RSC React Server components that they reported was disclosed today. And they're saying this is separate from the one disclosed in December, so you'll need to update again. But I looked into it. It is a denial of service using React Server components. So there is an update that needs to be made. But like the Vercel blog says, is that there's no RCE, remote code execution, which was possible on the previous vulnerabilities about a month ago, I guess, or maybe 6 weeks ago. And those were resolved using the firewall, apparently, but then people were getting bounties for being able to break the firewall for Vercel and Cloudflare and all these guys. So it's been interesting. There hasn't been much of an update on it, but there is a new vulnerability, it seems so. And versions 13 through 16 are affected. If this kind of stuff interests you and you want to talk with some like-minded people, join the Audinato Discord in the description. Thanks.